Hello, class. Welcome to another lesson for our Math 1 statistics. So, for today, we will be talking about measures of dispersion and location. But for this video, we will be focusing more on dispersion. Where in dispersion, we will be looking into how dispersed, how gaano ba kakalat yung ating data array. By gaano kakalat, we will be looking at on the degree on how your data or your observations differ from the mean or from your central tendency. And as you may have remembered, central tendency is just the average. So you're just getting the central data or the data that is located in the middle of your distribution. And for this measure of dispersion, we will be looking into the rate by is how much your data is dispersed from the center of your central tendency. So in that, some of the formulas we will be discussing today is actually related to the formulas that we already discussed in this class. And for this measure of central tendency, we'll be looking into range, variance, and standard deviation. So we may have another topic that is related to range, variance, and standard deviation, which is the uh, cor- correlation coefficient. We will be or coefficient of variation rather. So in that, let's go on to the discussion of this measures of dispersion. So our first measure of dispersion is the range. It is the simplest and the easiest measure of dispersion. We already encountered range when we talked about frequency distributions. We use range to calculate the class interval for our frequency distribution. So actually, range is a measure of central tendency, wherein range is the simplest and the easiest measure of dispersion. You just need to locate the highest value and the lowest value in your data set. Then you just need to get their difference, and voila, you're done with your computation of range. So there are some advantages in using the range, wherein it is easy to compute, easy to understand, but uh, on the disadvantage, it is greatly affected by extreme values. Also, only two values are used in the calculation. So you did not consider all of the observation or values in your data set. You just get the highest value and the lowest value in the data set, and you have your range. So, siya nga yung pinakamadali na measure of central tendency, pero siya rin yung kumbaga, hindi reliable na tingnan. Kasi, lalo't lalo na that it is affected by extreme values. So, one example here is, or the formula for getting the range is just equal to the highest value minus the lowest value. So, for example, we have here this recurring example wherein the daily rates of a sample of 8 employees in GMS Incorporated are 550, 420, 560, 500, 700, 670, 860, and 480. So find the range of the daily rate of the employees. So mangyayari dito, we just need to get the highest value, which is 860, minus the lowest value, which is 420. So we will have a range of 440. So the range of the daily rates of employees is 440. And that's it. You have there your range. So, so in that, let's move on to a more valid or a more reliable measure of central tendency, which is the variance and standard deviation. So Standard deviation by definition is a statistical term that provides a good indication of volatility. So it measures how widely values are dispersed from the average, and it is also the square root of the variance. So basically, when we compute for the standard deviation or we compute for the variance, halimbawa, kinumpute na natin yung variance, madali na natin makuha yung standard deviation because we just need to get the square root of that variance and we have the standard deviation. And speaking of variance, variance is a measure on how actual measurements vary from the mean. So it is a mathematical expectation of the average square deviations from the mean or the average. So in here, uh, standard deviation is actually used to infer the probable values of or the probable distribution of your data set. Kasi pwede natin gamitin next time yung standard deviation para i-compute kung ilang percent ba ng population or ilang percent ba ang observations mo ang may ganitong values or in between ng ganitong values. So, standard deviation is used for that. So, bali, ang nangyayari kasi, if you have your standard deviation and your mean, kapag meron kang yung distribution na ginamit natin kanina, halimbawa, symmetrical yung distribution na meron ka, each step of the standard deviation is actually measures the frequency of your observation that lies in between some certain ranges. So, for example, if you have your this distribution and you say that your distribution is somewhat symmetrical, and this is your mean, using the standard deviation, you can actually map out. Well, this is our negative uh, S or negative standard deviation, negative 2S, and negative 3S. And the other side, we have S, we have 2S, and we have 3S. There is a certain percentage of your distribution that will lie in between your negative S and negative standard deviation and your standard deviation na nandyan lahat ng data. May certain percentage yan. So, ganun din para dun sa ating 2S. Some of your data will actually lie or percentage of your data will exactly lie on this 2s value in between this negative 2s and 2s value. So, ganun yung magiging gamit natin ng standard deviation. We will be looking into the indication of volatility. Makikita natin dito kung gaano kalawak or gaano ka-dispersed yung ating value. So, for the variance and standard deviation, here are actually some of the formulas that we will be using. These are actually two sets of uh, formulas wherein for this one ginagamit to whenever you already identified your mean. Kasi bali dyan, kasama ron sa formula, you need to get the difference between your each of your data and your mean, then you need to square it. So, ganun yung formula na to. And for the standard deviation, which is S, you just need to take the square root of your variance. So, para naman dito sa isang set ng formula, as you can see here, we don't have our mean here. So, meaning to say, if you don't really need to compute for the mean, you can use this formula wherein you just need to get the summation of all the square of your observation. Then you need to get the sum of all your observation and you need to square it and divide it by the total number of samples. Then you need to divide it by the uh, number of samples minus 1. That is for the variance. And para naman dun sa ano, sa standard deviation natin, you just need to get the square root of that. So, two different formulas or two sets of different formulas for different scenarios. So for example, let's use our recurring example, this example. So for this one, kung halimbawa, ayoko nang mag-compute ng mean, I will be using the latter formula, yung nakabox sa red. So, kopyahin lang natin siya. So we have here our s squared or variance is actually just equal to the summation of the x squared minus summation of x squared all over n minus 1. So that is for the variance, and for the standard deviation, that will be uh, the square root of the summation of x squares minus we have there our summation of x squared over n minus 1. So, gano'n lang yung gagawin natin. So, paano ko sisimulan to? The best way na i-approach to, since we are dealing with ungroup data, you just need to rewrite all of this in a column. So, say you have there your x's. So, you can do here is rewrite 550, write 420, rewrite 560, 500, 700, then we have there our 670, then we have our 860, and our 480. So what we can do here next is just compute for the summation of x's, wherein you just need to add all of this. So hindi ko na maalala kung kung na i-add na ba natin yan. So compute lang ulit natin. So we have there 550 plus 420 plus 560 plus 500 plus 700 plus 670 plus 860 plus 480. So we have there 4,740. As you can see here, meron na tayo nitong first component natin. By first component, meron na tayo nitong summation of x. So, ang next na lang natin kailangan gawin is to get for the summation of the x squares. So, ang gagawin lang natin for that, we just need to to square all of the x's. So, what will happen here is we just need to mahirap dito sa calculus. Anyway, tuloy natin. Karirin natin. So we have there 550 squares. So that's 550 times 550. So we will have there 302,500. Then we have there 420 square. So that is 176,400. So we'll have there 560 square. So that will be 313,600. Then we have 500 square. What is 500 square? That will be 250,000. Tama ba? So we have there 500 square. Then we have 700 square. That will be 490. And again, we have 670 square. So that will be 448. So now, 448,900. Then we have there 860 square. So that will be 739,600. And lastly, we have there are 480. 480 square is 23,400. Okay. So, kailangan na lang natin gawin dito ay we just need to get the summation of that x square. Meaning to say, we need to add all of them. Lahat ng x squares natin. So, we have there 302,500 plus 176,400 plus 313,600 plus 250,000 plus 490,000 plus 448,900 plus 739,600 plus 230,400. Okay, so this will be actually 2.9. So, paki-check na lang class kung same tayo na magiging sagot. Paki-pause yung video kung medyo nahihirapan kayong sumunod dun sa computation. So, basically class, we have here another component which is yung ating summation of x squared. So, kailangan na lang natin gawin class, we just need to plug them in. So, our s squared will actually be 2,951,400 minus 4,740 square all over n, which is 8. Alright? Then we need to divide all of that with 8 minus 1. Okay? So, paki-solve nga, class. Try nyo muna bago ko ilagay yung sagot. Okay? Kung tama yung compute ko, we will have here 20,421.43. And getting the square root of that, the square root, getting the square root of that. Ayun nga. So, wait a second. Square root of 20,421.43 will be our S here will be 142.9. Okay? So in here class, andyan na yung ating sample variance and sample standard deviation. Okay? Actually, meron pa yatang isang wala na. Okay. So for the next one, just like our mean, kung meron kang ungroup na sample mean, meron ka ring group na sample mean, which means meron ka ring group na sample variance and sample standard deviation. So as you can see here, nadagdagan lang naman siya ng F or frequency nung sa first set natin dun sa ungroup. And as you can see here, same scenario, we have two sets of formulas here. Wherein, for this first one, known yung mean mo. Okay? And for this second one, kapag hindi mo alam yung mean mo. Actually, both of the formulas naman ay mag-work properly at halos equal naman yung lumalabas sa sagot. But basically, ganun lang din yung gagawin nyo. You just need to compute for these parameters. Kailangan mo lang hanapin kailangan mo lang square lahat ng x's mo. And by x's, yan ay midpoints ng ating class interval. Eh, you need to multiply it to the frequency for each class interval. Then you need to get the summation of that. Then same is true for this one. You just need to get the products of all, or the sum of all the products of your midpoints and the frequency for each class interval. You need to square it and you need to divide it by n. And also you need to divide it by n minus 1. So for that, I have here this example. Actually, this is again a recurring formula, a recurring example, and a recurring error. This should be 26. Ay, hirap talaga na class pag copy-paste lahat ng data. What you need to do here is you just need, hindi mo gusto nang kunin yung min mo, you just need to compute for the midpoints. You just need to compute for the fx. You need to that is the product of the frequency and your midpoint. Then you need to compute for the squares of your midpoints. Then you need to compute for the product of the squares of your midpoint and your frequency. So, makukumpleto mo na yung iyong formula wherein the variance for group is just the summation of of fx squares minus the square of the summation of fx square over n minus 1. And for the standard deviation, you just need to get the square root of your variance. Okay? So in that, let's try to compute. So we have here 18 and 26. If you add 18 plus 26, that will be 14. 44 divided by 2, that will be 22. Add 9 na lang ulit. Same for ano yung ginawa natin last time. That will be 31. This will be 40. This will be 49. This will be 57. This will be 66. And this will be 75. Okay. So that is our midpoints. Then you just need to get the fx. So 3 times 22, that will be 66. 5 times 31, that will be 155. Check nga class. Then you have 9 times 40, that will be 360. Ito na yung mahirap. 49 times 14 is, so we have there 686. Then we have there 11 times 57, that will be 627. And we have there 6 times 66. So we have there 396. And we have there 2 times 75, that would be 150. So what we can do here, class, is to compute for the summation of the fx. So we have there 66 plus 155 plus 360 plus 686 plus 627 plus 396 plus 150. That will be 2440. So as you can see here, meron na tayo nito. Okay? So, isang concept na lang yung kulang natin, which is yung fx squares. So, first things first, you need to compute for the square of your x's. So, we have there 22 square. Diretso ko nang i-compute. So, we have there 484 and we just need to multiply it by 3. So, we can get 1455. 52. Sana nakuha ko yung ginawa ko. So, bali, we just get the square of 22. Then, we multiply it by 3. Kaya nakuha natin yung fx square. So, ganun din yung gagawin natin dun sa kasunod. So, we have there 31. 31 square, multiply lang natin sa 5. 31 square is 961. Then we just need to multiply it by 5. So we will have 4,805. Then same for 40. So we have there 40 square is 1,600. And we just need to multiply it by 9. So we will have there 14,400. Then we have there 49 square. 49 square is 2,401. And 2,401, just need to multiply it by 14. So we will have there 33,614. Same for 57. 57 square is 3,249. And you just need to multiply it by 11, which is 35,739. Then we have there 66. 66 square is 4,356. Then we just need to multiply it by 6. So we have 26,136. And for the last one, we have 75 square. We'll just need to multiply it by 2. So we have there 5,625 for the square. And if you multiply it by 2, that will be 11,250. Right? So for the next part, we just need to add all of this. Okay? So we'll have there 1,452 plus 4,805 plus 14,400 plus 33,614 plus 35,739 plus 26,136, then your 11,200, and we will have there, so we will have here 127,396. So hopefully pare-parehas tayo na nakuha. And in that, we just need to plug in all of this formula to our formula in here. So our fx squared will be this one. And our summation of fx will be this 2,440. So in the formula, it will be s squared will be, ay hindi kasya. Isahin ko na lang, 127,396 minus 2,440 square over n, which is 50, divided by 50 minus 1. Okay? So, compute na ako, class. So, we have the 127,396 minus 2 square. So, we will have here 8,340, 24 over 49. So we will have here a standard deviation, a variance, which is 169.88. So Kung kukunin natin yung standard deviation, we just need to get the square root of 169.88, and the square root of that will be, wait a second class, that will be uh, 13.03. Okay? So in here, our sample standard deviation will be our 13.03, and our sample variance will be 169.88. So actually, I have here an example wherein kung gusto niyo i-solve, pwede niyo i-solve. So ito yung pattern kung paano rin siya gagawin. Actually, this is again another recurring example. So I already gave the midpoints here. So mas mapapadali yung computation. Okay? And for your assignment, you will need to compute for the sample variance and sample standard deviation of this frequency distribution table. Okay? I will be posting the submission bin for this assignment. So keep that in mind. Okay? And just to finish this off, gusto ko na lang din ipakita yung kung paano pag-population na. Kasi paulit-ulit tayo kanina na puro sample, 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 sample. So the only difference between sample variance and population variance and standard deviation and uh, popula- uh, population standard deviation will be this formula. So kung papansinin nyo, ang population variance ay gumagamit na ng ibang notation. Wherein that notation is actually sigma instead of S. But, kung titingnan nyo yung formula, ang tanging difference lamang nung formulas natin ay yung n-1 sa baba. For sample standard deviation, kung papansinin nyo, we are using here sample uh, n, sample size n, minus 1 here at the bottom. And for population standard deviation, capital N naman yung ginagamit natin. So similar lang, halos. Wala lang yung n-1. Same for the computations here in the using kapag wala tayong population mean, yung nasa baba, yung dalawang nasa baba. Okay? So ganun lang din para dun sa ating group. Halos similar lang din siya. And ayun, ang pinagkaiba lang nila ay yung n-1. So that is the difference between your population's variance and population standard deviation to your sample variance and sample standard deviation. And going back, ayun, this is your assignment. So keep that in mind. I want you to compute for the sample variance and the sample standard deviation of this frequency distribution. That I will be ending this lecture for for the measures of dispersion. So, thank you and have a great day. Bye bye.